Hola amigos and welcome to the channel. Me llamo Nuria y soy tu profesora de español. Welcome to the channel. My name is Nuria and I'm your Spanish teacher. Today we're covering the top 10 mistakes Spanish beginners make and how to avoid them. So let's get into it. The mistake number one, as you would have guessed it if you've watched my previous videos on this channel, is confusing the verb ser and estar, and rightly so, because in English it's the verb to be. So the best way to avoid this mistake is to watch my 3-part video series on the verb ser, estar, and ser versus estar, which has all the grammar information, loads of examples, and much more on the series. So I will link that in the video somewhere, so you can go and check it out. But the most basic mistake is using the verb ser to express emotions. So just remember that for emotions, we're going to use the verb estar. For example, estar aburrido, estar ansioso, estar contento, estar enfadado, estar confundido, and to use ser to explain personal traits of someone. So if someone is actually a boring person, es aburrido. Or to make descriptions about the physical aspect of somebody, es alto, es bajo. So go ahead and watch the 3-part video series if you need help with this. That takes us on to mistake number 2, and is not following the known adjective correlation. As you know, in Spanish, words are either feminine or masculine. So when we're using the adjectives, they will change according to whatever it is we're talking about. For example, if we want to say a red house, we would say una casa roja. But for example, we also have car, which is coche. And if we want to say the red car, el coche rojo, because it's a masculine word. So how to avoid this mistake is to remembering that adjectives must agree with the gender of the noun. To me personally, and what I tell my pupils to do to avoid getting confused if a word is feminine or masculine is every time you learn a new word, learn it with the article that goes with it. That means if I'm learning casa, I'm just not going to learn casa, I'm going to learn la casa, so I am already learning that that word is feminine because the article is telling me so. So I would learn la casa, el coche, el móvil, la cartera, and so on. Mistake number 3 is using the verb es or estar to express somebody's age. In Spanish, when we're talking about age, we're going to use the verb tener. So tengo 23 años. Pedro tiene 59 años. And so on. Mistake number 4 is to use estar bien or estar mal when we're talking about health issues. For example, I'm not feeling well, me siento mal, or I'm feeling great, me siento bien. Not estoy mal or estoy bien, because to me when I say estoy bien, I'm not really talking about health. I'm overall, everything is great. Or estoy mal means my life is going badly. So for health issues, would you say estoy enfermo, I'm sick, or me siento mal, or me siento regular? Mistake number 5 is doing translations word by word. And I know this because when I was learning to speak English, I was making the exact same mistake. We all do it and we all want to understand the language the way our language is. However, that's not reality and we need to detach from that as soon as possible. So literal translations can be tricky in Spanish. For example, I'm hot, like it's warm. Estoy caliente, which means I'm horny. You don't want to make these mistakes. Or I'm cold, estoy frío means nothing, or soy frío. We would say tengo frío or tengo calor. There's also videos about these in my channel in the short version if you want to have a look at them. I had a little problem with point number 6 because I accidentally touched the microphone and muted myself for most of point 6. So I have to re-record it. Unfortunately, it's not the first time that this happens, but as I'm editing this video, I have to redo the point 6, then we'll go back to point 7. But point 6 was, and it is for myself, the biggest mistake that beginners make, which is not practicing what you're learning. There are multiple ways of practicing Spanish. I have mentioned this in previous videos. They're exchanged with people who want to learn your language, whether it's English, French, whatever language it is. There will be Spanish people trying to learn that language, so you can do an exchange, which will be absolutely for free. So what is the excuse? There are many apps also for free, and you can also pay for a tutor if you want to. And locally, there will be also exchange that you can look up, maybe on Facebook. You can also join groups on Facebook like a Spanish People In. The more you practice, the better you'll get with the language, and the more you will improve, and the more you will retain what you're actually learning, because it is a mistake, and I see these all the time, thinking, oh, I have learned the articles, or I have learned these grammar point, or I have learned the present tense, and you're not practicing enough, and you're going on to the next thing, where I'm just going to learn the past participle, I'm just going to learn, I don't know, the conditional, but you don't really know the present, and you haven't used the present enough to master it. Well, I wouldn't say master it, but you know, to get on with it, to practice enough to retain the information and then add on to that information that you know. And a lot of people just go on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, and they get frustrated because they say, oh, but I've studied these and I can't understand people when they're talking. But you haven't practiced enough. You need to practice. It takes a lot of time. I am sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I think that's the saying. But there's a lot of people out there on the internet that says you can learn a language in 3 months. And while this might be true for some people, for most of us, including myself, learning a language takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of hours, and maybe years. So do not discourage yourself. Practice what you're learning and make mistakes along the way. The most important thing in Spanish is to be understood. It doesn't matter if you incorrectly put the wrong tense in the sentence that you're explaining, if you don't have all the articles in the sentence. As long as your sentence makes sense, you can still communicate. And if you want proof of this video right here, which I thoroughly enjoyed, from Eva Longoria, which is being interviewed by, I would say, a celebrity from Spain. She does gorgeous wedding dresses and party dresses, and she's a designer. Long story short, she does interviews right now and has a YouTube channel. And in this channel, Eva Longoria is speaking in Spanish the whole time. Bear in mind, Eva Longoria, even though she has ancestry that were Spanish speaking, she did not speak Spanish. She started learning, and in this video she makes grammar mistakes, yet she's able to hold a conversation completely fine, completely understood by the presenter and myself. And well, yes, she makes grammar mistakes, she's also communicating very well in a language that is not her own. And if that is not stopping Eva Longoria, it shouldn't stop you, that's for sure. So practice whichever way you can, because you will see the biggest progress if you do these. Now let's go on to number 7 and back to the old video. This mistake that we're going to have a look at now, which is mistake number 7, is so common and is the overuse of muy. For example, it's very warm. There's a lot of people who use muy mucho calor. Hace muy mucho calor. No, hace mucho calor. A lot of the times, a lot of people confuse muy and mucho, which, by the way, I have a video coming into the channel. So, muy mucho calor is something that I hear a lot. So, it'll be mucho calor or hace mucho calor. Or another thing that I've heard is mucho muy bueno or muy mucho bueno. Very, very good. If you want to say something very, very good, we could say buenísimo. Something like that. And this tags along perfectly fine for mistake number 8, which is confusing bien and bueno. This is like muy mucho. A lot of people confuse them. So we're going to use bien when it's an adverb. Something is very well. Está muy bien. And we're going to use bueno, which is an adjective, which remember from the mistake earlier, it will change depending on the word that we're describing. So can be someone is a good person. If it's a girl, es muy buena. Or if it's a boy, es muy bueno. However you want to say something is delicious, está buenísimo or está riquísimo. So if it's something tastes good, está bueno. Mistake number 9, which is also very common, is translate I like something word by word. For example, I like chocolate. Yo gusta chocolate. That is wrong. We're not going to use yo. We're going to use me. Me gusta el chocolate. Me gusta pasear. Me gusta salir de fiesta. Me gusta bailar. We don't use yo gusta, whatever it is. And we have reached the end with mistake number 10, which is skipping accents or adding random accents through the word. In Spanish, we do have accents, which means that part of the word will sound stronger. If I say como, it's I eat, but if I say como, do you see the difference? Como, 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 como. If it's with an accent, it means how. So, ¿cómo lo haces? How do you do it? O yo como chuletas. Yo. Another one, for example, the word. The wrong ways of saying this word is rápido, which is in the middle, rápido, or where it actually has the accents, rápido. So we will say that part is stronger than the other. And when there's no accent, it's usually at the end of the word. If you like this video and you want more videos like these, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Hasta pronto!